You can get your own 3D printer for as low as $300. That's the promise by Pirate3D, the makers behind the Buccaneer. There's been so much demand it raised over $1.4 million on Kickstarter, more than 14 times its original goal. The startup was set up last year by 3 graduates, Roger, Brandon and Eugene, along with their professor. And what's unusual is that it's one of the few hardware startups in Singapore where many more have gone for the software route instead.
I would not say it is terribly harder to do a hardware startup in Singapore. Just that the challenges that you face are a lot different, and the skill sets required to solve these challenges are a lot different from what you would encounter as a software startup. For example, it's mostly engineering challenges, the skills you need to prototype things. If you're going to build a test product with a software startup, you just have to code the thing in, and if it doesn't work, you go through the code again, comb through the code, and then change a few lines, and then you're done. You've got your next iteration out. With a hardware startup, to have multiple iterations out, you're going to need to go to a prototyping house and build a new prototype again and again. And each time you iterate, it could take anything between 1 week to 4 weeks. And we learned really quickly that what was important was building a lot of prototypes really fast. And the only way to do that is to secure, rapid prototyping houses that will work with you and establish a good relationship with them.
Was it an easy idea to pitch to them? Were they receptive to your proposal?
I would say that it's actually easier to pitch a hardware startup than a software startup, because when you go to an investor with a tangible prototype, it's something that they can touch and see. It's very much more real than if you went to them with a wireframe and an idea for a website and presented your business model. It's really hard to grasp what your idea is. Whereas with a hardware startup, you just have a prototype there. It's all there. It's all out in the open. There's not much to think about. Just touch the thing, see how it works, and then realize that, yeah, this is a cool device. It could probably sell a lot. And then you go forward with it. And also, there are a lot less hardware startups in Singapore compared to software startups. And because of that, you're more rare, and investors know that inherently hardware startups have a higher barrier to entry for competitors to come in, since you're going to need a lot of R&D to create these kind of devices in the first place.
So far, Pirate3D has received $589,000 of investment. It plans to push sales by making its printer available at retail stores. Currently, the Buccaneer has a profit margin of 30%. For future versions, Pirate3D is looking at ways to make the printer more efficient and cost-effective, such as by moving from Raspberry Pi to BeagleBone Black.
Right now, the electronics take up an entire panel on the front of the Buccaneer. Once you get your Buccaneer in, let's say, December or February, and you rip it open, you can look at all the electronics. And currently, there's 2 boards and a power converter that sits in the middle that is stuck to the front panel of the device on the inside. And having more electronics and creating more heat and more bulk on the inside is generally not the way to go. We want to make it neat. We want to make it smaller. And the BeagleBone Black has actually a faster processor than the Raspberry Pi, so you're able to do more processes quicker, and you improve also on the print quality. What we found is that, surprisingly, it's not really the mechanics that are hindering the quality of prints right now. It's actually the electronics, because if you have a better processor and more memory, you're able to buffer more of the extruder's movements versus what we have now with the current controller board.
Why the name Pirate3D?
So this story harks back all the way to July 2012. I sat down for lunch with Brandon behind there, and essentially we had to register the company the next week. So we sat down for lunch, we're like, bro, we're gonna register the company next week. How? And just randomly, Brandon just said, let's be pirates. It's very Steve. It's a Steve Jobs line. And then I thought about it, and we're like, yeah, let's be pirates. And
So you've been getting a lot of pirate jokes?
a hell of a lot. Everyone's like, yar, you're gonna walk the plank, matey. Okay.